What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast that is a proud partner of the Eurostep Podcast Network and the Blue Wire family. As always, I am your host, Numac, coming back with a mock draft for the 2024 draft for the Packers. Oh boy, am I excited to do this one with my lovely, lovely co-host, Jordan Tresky. Jordan, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, doing well. We are weak for the draft. We're weak for the draft.
I'm excited.
Um, I'm very excited. I'm glad to just you get to the point where you hear all this stuff about the draft cycle of these teams are looking at which. Of course, a lot of it just naturally it goes to the quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. The Bears can draft Caleb Williams. We'll let them. We got one.
We do be
It
having
don't
one.
matter.
That's right. I think I saw this Jacob Morley on Twitter today, Packers Twitter guy, say that the draft should be moved up a week because we're at the point in the draft cycle where everyone's just yelling at each other over nothing at this point,
Yeah, yeah.
which is basically all that's happening. So I'm right there with him. The draft should
And
be
we're just talking about the just having one round happen.
yeah, which is like the worst part. It's like oh, got a little bit of a tease, and we have 2 rounds, and then the four that don't matter all on Saturday. I
Yeah.
should say don't matter, but you get my point. But before we get into the mock draft, a little bit of news and notes to get through since the last time we recorded. The biggest news of which is that the Packers are going to be kicking off their season week 1, headed to Brazil to play the Philadelphia Eagles on Friday night to open their season. They'll be playing in Sao Paulo. I think I don't think I know it is the first game to be played in Brazil for the NFL. It is going to be pretty cool. Something that they've talked about over the last few days, just about the game there. Not going to be able to wear green because that is the team who plays there, team that plays at Corinthians Arena, the soccer club that plays there. Their rival, the Palmeiras or Palmeiras, probably is how you say it. Also wears green, and it's a pretty heated rivalry. And bad things happen when people wear green, and so likely the Packers and the Eagles will both not be wearing green. Good job, NFL.
Yeah, I don't think they really thought that one through.
No, they wanted to put a game in Brazil, the third largest American football fan base in the world, and they didn't really care about the logistics. They could have put
No.
like I don't know, say the Browns and maybe the Buccaneers or any other team that doesn't wear green.
Yeah.
But Lord, I think it'll be cool though. Eagles will probably wear their all black uniforms, and the Packers will probably wear
Ooh.
their all whites, which is
I'd
probably
rather be in the Packers perspective
yeah,
because that's like muggy,
yeah,
hot.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yep,
that might be a tough one.
yeah. So I guess what do you think about the Packers playing in Brazil?
I'm excited. I don't know how this is not a I think we talked about when the speculation was is basically just either them or the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about like, well, you open the season doing this big trip. It's not like London where it kind of wedges itself between what it could have been their bye week, so it pushes that back later in the season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a Friday night that you're starting. You're not having to deal with the schedule. Like everything about it kind of just works in their favor. And I think that's why they were not necessarily like, you know, against doing it or having their name in the ring kind of thing.
Right. No, I get that. I'm all for it too. I think the only gripe I have, and people are on both sides of this fence, is that it's on Peacock, which like for us here in Wisconsin doesn't really matter because it'll be broadcast regardless because we're the home market.
Over the air.
Right. But it's still like why are we putting more football behind a paywall? Is kind of my idea behind it.
Well, that's where we're going. Plus, I mean, the whole Peacock experiment with the playoff game. I forget what the which playoff game it was. Was it
Oh,
like
I
Chiefs?
think it
It
was
was the
Chiefs
Chiefs.
Dolphins.
Yes, if I remember correctly, that was like according to their own data that they put out,
Right.
but it was over 23 million people.
Yeah. There's a lot.
So,
So people are
you know,
doing it. So like I'm not um I'm not like poo pooing it. I just think the idea of okay, if you whatever cable you subscribe to, YouTube TV, Hulu, regular like Spectrum, Comcast, whatever cable, um, what are the other ones I'm trying to think of? Just like any other cable, and you still can't get the game in your home, like in an away market. I just think it's stupid that it's another thing you have to pay for, which again is a more society, a bigger topic across social norms is what's happening. But that's just um, my take on it.
Yeah, capitalism.
Yeah, that is exactly what it is.
And this is when we pivot to being a capitalism podcast.
Is that what it is? Talk of the capitalists.
Talk of the capitalism. Let's dive into the stock figures. Who's up? Who's down? Presented by the Buck stock market. That's what it is. That's the only stock market that we talk about.
Yeah, and the cheese board.
Exactly. Um, no, I understand that. I think obviously from our perspective, like we're sitting pretty because you have the free over the air stuff that you don't have to really worry about or
Right,
take for granted, I should say.
right.
Um, but you know, that is the direction that we're going.
Yeah,
And
from a Packers perspective too, I just think like if we want to increase our stranglehold on fans nation or well, worldwide, I'm not going to be as sad about it. That is better for the
no,
franchise.
that's the thing is that these are like, you know, it counts for the season. It you're not even if there's an exhibition game. I remember actually when I was a wee lad when the Packers played in Tokyo. They played against the Chiefs in like
Have no recollection of that.
late 19 it was definitely post Super Bowl. I want to say it was the 97 preseason. So probably I can't remember if that was the Denver Bronco when they played the Broncos in the Super Bowl that year. But I remember them playing the Chiefs in like probably I think it was literally just called the Tokyo Dome. But yeah. Like this stuff it's become more prevalent because the NFL realizes the markets that they're tapping into and they're not going to go to a city that isn't, you mentioned it. Sao Paulo slash Brazil has the third largest American football fan base, and this is how you grow the game. You know what I mean? We literally have to refer to it as American football rather than the universal football because that is way more popular in every, um, around the world. But it was really, um, I read J.R. Ratcliffe's article from the Journal Sentinel of just like kind of like the rundown of all these different facts and interesting stuff. And there was a tidbit about why American football has become more popular in Brazil, and an indirect effect of that has been because there's so much corruption and match fixing in soccer that local fans are getting fed up with it because they understand the game is rigged and that is so prevalent in their culture and soccer culture in Brazil that they would rather some people would rather just defect from watching that game and move on to American football. I thought it was really fascinating from that perspective.
That's really
And
cool.
just
I should say
and
cool. It's like sad, but it's like interesting.
it is sad and it also kind of just like we complained about all these refs all the time and the decisions that they make. You know what I mean? An NBA player literally just got banned for life because he's bet on his team to lose. Like,
Yeah, not great.
maybe that's where we're heading with our culture, but they look at us like that's the panacea. Like they live like legislate the game so well. So I thought that was
So
really
well.
fascinating. Yeah, so well, Tim Donaghy.
Yeah, Tim
Um,
Donaghy, Scott Foster, the rest of them.
Ed
Allegedly, allegedly,
Hockley.
allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. So, but no, it's cool. It'll be good for the Packers. So, um, should we move on?
Yes.
Packers signed former Tennessee Titans tackle Andre Dillard today, Thursday, in what comes as like an out of the blue move, I'd say. Not a surprise per se, given that the Packers are looking to address their line in the offseason anyways. Um, but definitely out of the blue. And a surprise in the fact of who it was. I guess would be the biggest thing is, because when it happened, everyone kind of immediately pointed to that Andre Dillard was one of the worst tackles in the league last year for tackles that had qualifying snaps, and he was the
I
worst.
have a stat
Go
just for you.
go for it.
Um, Andre Dillard per PFF. Andre Dillard was credited with allowing 12 sacks
Oh my word!
in 562 offensive snaps. That was the most of any offensive lineman. Um, Also not named Mekhi Becton of the Jets, which kind of gives you a look into how their season went too.
Right.
If you needed the reminder. So yes, to your point, out of the blue, I also don't think I think the Packers actually broke this news because I
They
saw
did.
it after the
They
fact.
did. The Packers tweeted it
Um,
out.
I don't think there's been official terms um given on what his contract is outside of probably just assuming that it's like the minimum
You
or
have to
you know what I mean?
assume so. I'm going to spell check right now to see if it's updated.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a Warren Sharp tweet that just says Andre Dillard was a massive liability for the Titans O line last year.
Yeah,
He ranked dead last of 38 left tackles in pressure rate allowed and gave up the NFL's most sacks. Collectively, the Titans ranked number 30th in pressure rate allowed, and the offensive line allowed contact at behind the line on 49% of their running back carries, which ranked 26th.
not great.
Not great.
Um, for
Yeah,
context, he was drafted by the Eagles in 2019 and as a number 22 overall pick in the first round. Packers did host him as um, a team visit in 2019. That spring, he signed a 4-year, $12 million deal with the Eagles. And in 2022, Philly declined his option for 2023. The following free agency season, so last year's free agency season, he signed a 3-year, $29 million contract um, with the Titans, and then was released this year. And they saved almost $3 million in cap by doing that. So they ate a large part of that contract, it seems, just to get rid of him. Which, say what you will, that's the NFL sometimes. But if they're only clearing $2 million on what is a essentially 10-year $1 million deal a year contract, it's not the most, I guess, it's not the easiest decision for the Titans to make. It doesn't really reflect that well on Andre Dillard.
no, I think it's both. And then plus two, you have to factor in they got a new head coach.
Yeah,
Uh, Brought his dad to coach the offensive line. Bill Callahan is a
I
legendary.
thought you meant Andre Dillard's dad. I was like, that's horrible. If they brought his
No,
dad
no,
in to
no, no,
coach, they kicked him off the team.
no. Brian Callahan hired his dad Bill to coach the offensive line for the Titans,
Got it.
who's like legendarily one of the best offensive line coaches. Not that I know of
Sounds like
what
a
he
nepotism
does.
hire to me.
Reverse nepotism though,
Correct.
right? Because usually it's the dad hiring the son, like a Mike Zimmer situation.
Right.
This time he's like, "Hey, pops, let's
Pops,
get you in here.
one for the road.
Hey, pops Warner, let's get you in here." Um,
Pops Warner, famously Kurt Warner's dad.
exactly. Actually, I thought it was his brother. That's the joke. Anyway,
Anywho's will be.
so what we're talking about from this perspective, out of the blue, the Packers sign a lineman. Good.
Yeah.
He just so happens to be, as Warren Sharp tweeted a week ago, a massive liability as of 1 year, the year that he played the most offensive snaps in his career, on a Tennessee Titans team that clearly just ran out the string with everything. Got rid of their coach, got rid of Derrick Henry. They're maybe the most famous or productive, best Tennessee Titan ever.
Ever?
We're not a Titans podcast, but I'm just throwing that out there.
Are you talking about Derrick Henry?
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not. We're not going to discuss it, but maybe.
It's an interesting discussion. Anyway, Ran out the string this year, and yeah, like it's not. I look. What my first reaction seeing this was, hey, I remember seeing that name on PFF, and that guy did not do well in all of their stuff. And I'm sure enough, I was like, oh, I thought he was maybe like fourth or fifth. No, it's like at the top of allowing sacks and just the pressures and everything like that. So I understand all these things, and I'm not really bullish on the signing. At the same time, it's very clear that they see something in Andre Dillard. I know the RAS score that he recorded coming out of college and going to his draft, I believe, is a 9.81. Um, and we've talked a lot about how they value what do they value of RAS, but
Yeah.
specifically with offensive linemen and just kind of having very athletic offensive linemen. Um, Maybe there's something where they can kind of, you know, reconfigure things in a way where he can find something that he clearly hasn't shown with, when he's gotten a lot of uh playing time. Obviously his time with the Eagles is what it was. That was a Super Bowl contending team that he didn't play much at all. It was pretty much special team snaps at that point. And they declined his 5th year option after being a first round pick when they took him. It kind of trended downward, and now that's where we are, where you pick him up on April 18th, and he's kind of like this minimum signing that you maybe not second draft, but third draft kind of thing, where you get something out of him that the other teams didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, if anything at all, it's a flyer and
Yep.
a cheap flyer at that. If they bring him in and like you had said, he's as a guard, I should say I'm sorry. For his RES when he got drafted, it was a 9.81. As a guard, it was pretty darn good. It's like a 99 percentile kind of thing. Um, but or I'm sorry, I messed up those. If you grade him as a guard, his RES score is a 9.81. For context, Graham Barton, draft prospect this year out of Duke, as a guard is a 9.99. So very similar in build to a guy that we've talked about on the pod before and a guy that they might end up in the draft with next Thursday. So instead of making him tackle and moving him inside to fill John Runyon Jr.'s vacant spot, I don't have a problem with that. If they want to try that in camp and maybe give Sean Ryan some competition, because I think
Mm.
like Goody said, Goody says it every year. They just want competition at every position going into training camp, and so why not give Sean Ryan a guy behind him to push him harder and see what he can do in camp versus just giving him the spot right away going into camp, not making him work for it at all and things like that. So I still think they address interior O line in the draft regardless.
Yeah.
Um, but I wouldn't be surprised either if they're like, hey, Andre Dillard, you are not good at tackle. It seems. Why don't we move you inside and take your short baby T-Rex arms? It's just a joke. Please don't fight me, Andre Dillard, and use them for good inside. So that's just probably the idea.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that logging even through the snaps that he's had, it's pretty much left tackle. There's a few. I think it's left guard. Like, it's not a lot, but
No, it's not a lot.
that's where you're gonna have to put a lot of faith in your. I'm forgetting the name of the current O line coach.
Oh yeah,
It's
not
obviously not Stanovich.
no, not Stanovich. The other guy whose name I can't
Is it
remember.
Buckus? Is it
I
Buckus?
think it is Buckus.
Luke Buckus?
I think so. That
Um,
sounds right. I'm almost certain
yes,
that's
he
right.
is. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he just looks like an offensive line coach.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, um, but to my overall point, like, we know that the Packers are going to invest in the offensive line. There might be multiple picks where they do this. Like, Andre Dillard getting signed by them doesn't necessarily mean that they won't take a tackle in the first round. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of speculation. Like we talked a lot about like what how Rasheed Walker factors into it. I think more highly of Rasheed Walker, even with the bumps that he had earlier in the year, than Andre Dillard, who the proof is in the pudding. Of it's right there. So yeah, like I don't think this precludes them from investing highly into their offensive line, taking multiple picks at various spots in the draft,
Mm-hmm.
and then just going into camp with, you know, I think by the time that they finished with their 53-man roster going into the regular season, they had like 11 tackle or 11 offensive linemen or whatever crazy number it was that we were just like, you have a lot of guys and they're not going to play. Like Caleb Jones, if you look at the depth offensive linemen, it's Royce Newman, it's Caleb Jones, it's Luke Tanuna, and it's Kadeem Telford. And Royce Newman is the only person that has any snap on this entire um you know depth of offensive linemen that they have. So to me, like that's why when we were looking at the draft and everything like that, where it's very clear, like, okay, yeah, you need multiple picks at whether it's tackle or more interior linemen. You need multiple guys to bring in to just to foster up some competition. And I think that to me is like the biggest thing that this signing might address. And maybe it turns for the better because they have gotten, less heralded guys that turned out to be nice rotational linemen in years
Right.
past that worked out, at least to the ultimate benefit.
Right. Wes Hod said had a point on that where in the past Goody just likes having options, and so he's had in the past he signed Dennis Kelly in 21, late in July around when training camp started, and then March of 2020 he signed Rick Wagner. November 2019 he signed or they claimed Jared is it Veldheer off of waivers. In 2019 again they I'm sorry, 2019 for Jared Veldheer was midseason November. March 13th in 2019, they signed Billy Turner. And then May 29th, they signed Byron Bell in 2018. So, like, yeah, it just seems like Goody likes having those options for himself and depth, frankly.
Yeah.
Just going into the year, making sure that they have enough guys to roll out there to protect the most valuable piece of the puzzle, which is the quarterback.
Yeah.
So, anything else on Andre Dillard?
No, I mean, it's, I think the one thing that I will say is, yeah, last year was horrible, but
Oh yeah, for
I would
sure.
not put everything on him. And it's very like you could be cognizant of the fact that he had a very poor year and graded terribly, and ranked very high in categories that you don't want to rank high in.
Right.
But the Packers just have this way of like producing offensive linemen that are sturdy and stuff like that. We think of it as a draft and develop, but like the list of guys that you mentioned kind of came up big in key spots, especially like Dennis
Especially
Kelly of all
Dennis
people.
Kelly and Billy Turner.
Billy Turner was a guy I remember like when that signing happened. That was, if I remember correctly, that was the same year as Zadarius,
Yep.
Preston,
Yep.
and then Adrian Amos. And
Yep.
when Billy Turner got signed, everyone's like, "Well, that's the weakest link of it all." Like he wasn't as proven, and if anything, he had more of like an Andre Dillard type career
Right.
than the other three. The thing is, Billy Turner kind of found his niche
Mm-hmm.
in Green Bay. He wasn't perfect by any means, but
Nope.
still was a serviceable guy for Packer teams that went to conference championships in back-to-back years.
I
So
mean, he was loved by Aaron Rodgers as much as you want to put stock into that, but I mean, he was a guy that Aaron Rodgers liked, and obviously a guy that followed Rodgers in New York.
high standard,
Yeah.
clearly,
Yeah.
when it comes to
Exactly.
alignment too. So
Alrighty, Jordan, should we get into the mock draft?
mock draft.
I am very excited. Spent a lot
Yes.
of time in this. little if you're on YouTube. I hope you enjoy the
Are we
transition.
simulating this mock draft? Is that what we're doing
We
here?
are simulating this mock draft.
Oh.
That is what is going on. So we have PFF up.
Does PFF have a mock draft simulator,
They do.
Numac?
They do. They very much do. We've been spamming it throughout all of the
How
off
would I
season.
be able to use this tool, this PFF mock draft simulator?
Are you asking me to put an ad plug in for PFF?
Well, we are kind of like stealing their technology. I
You
don't
pay
know.
for it.
I That is true. That is true. That is true. Thank you,
The,
PFF.
thank you. Uh,
All rights reserved.
sure. The Packers have 11 picks coming into this draft: 25, 41, 58, 88, 91, 126, 169, 202, 219, 245, and 255.
That's my
11
lottery
picks.
ticket.
That would be a pretty good lottery ticket. Shout out Hurley. Um, Including 5 picks in the top 100, which is the first three-ish rounds typically. Three, I think it is for sure the first 3 rounds and like 4 picks in the second round or the fourth round. I
Yep.
apologize.
Yep.
So we set our settings here for all 7 rounds. We know the first 3 rounds for sure. We've got Dame Brugler's beast up to kind of comb through our options a little bit for the other ones and sort of assess by need. For what we do, we're gonna set this to a little bit, not so much slow, but not so much fast either, in case one of us gets an itch to trade up or to trade back. Um, Usually the slider over here, if you're watching on YouTube and for audio listeners, PFF has a slider for public versus PFF and how the board falls. Public is just like how all everybody like us is drafting. PFF is if you go all the way to the right and slide to the PFF, how their rankings shake out for needs and things like that. But drafting for need is high up there, randomness is low, and care for positional value is less. So with all that being said, we've got the Packers selected. We've got 7 rounds. Jordan, are you ready?
I am ready. I have not.
Bang,
I oh
ding, ding,
oh.
ding. Go for it. I don't start it yet.
I'm just saying. I have not played around with this year.
Oh,
This is my official. What we are going with. This is what I will go with.
wow. I love that.
Exclusive. Exclusive.
I love that. All right. Ready to press the button?
Let's do it.
Kapow. All right. So we're running through. Caleb Williams was the
Caleb
first.
Williams went one.
I know. Shocker, right?
Sorry. Sorry.
So as we wait for this to go down, there goes Cooper DeJean at I think 15 that was to the Seahawks.
Yeah.
So available to the Packers: Jazon Newton, Adonai Mitchell, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jackson Powers Johnson, Troy Franklin, Peyton Wilson, Tyler Nubin. That's about as far as I'll go for this first round pick. So obviously we talked about uh, Johnny Newton and Kool-Aid and a little bit about Jackson Powers Johnson, just that he's available. With this this board falling how it has, if we look over here, Graham Barton went the pick before the Packers to
Yeah.
Dallas, and then the Seahawks took Cooper DeJean at 16. So 2 guys that we were pretty high on both sides of the ball gone before the Packers are able to pick them. Packers needs, I think we should probably talk about that as well. Offensive line, some depth there. We just talked about with Andre Dillard. Um, Defensive or interior defensive lineman as well, and safety. So
Corner.
yeah, and corner as well. So, what is your preference here, Jordan? I guess what is how do you want to take this first step?
This is the big one.
Yep.
We know the Packers do not select offensive players. Sorry, Brian Gutekunst does not
Specialists.
select. Yes, he does not take offensive players not named Jordan Love in the first round.
Is it
Does that
since the really bad offensive tackle Graham Harrell? No, he was a D tackle.
that's Justin Harrell,
Justin Harrell, who was
Derek
Derek
Sherrod.
Sherrod.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Since
So it's Derek Sherrod, and then 9 years later, Jordan Love got selected first round,
yep, and that's the only
which has worked out.
offensive players in the last like decade in the first round.
Yep.
if it helps you, I'm
Yes.
partial to Johnny Newton at this
I
spot.
know you are. I think that is the biggest thing is we're seeing. I think Newton's clearly the most talented here
Best player
at this
available.
spot. That yeah, BPA fit wise. I mean, you can make the case for McKinstry,
Mm-hmm.
JPJ, probably even down to Peyton Wilson. Even though I don't like the value of
That's a
where
really
you take
big reach
them,
for Peyton Wilson, in my
it's a
opinion. That's
huge
just kind of
reach.
mine. Jackson Powers Johnson didn't really talk about him much in our draft preview. No sacks allowed in his 3 year career in 13, 12, and 7 games each season since in his time at Oregon, for what it's worth. Has really good grades, obviously, in run blocking and pass blocking. He's a 90.6 pass blocking grade this past year, and just a pretty standout center for Oregon. 829 snaps at center last year. Played a tiny bit, or played mostly at right guard. His what I think would be junior year. I'm sorry, sophomore year. He's a junior right now, coming out of Oregon. 350 snaps at right guard his sophomore year, and then kind of played a little bit, only 126 total snaps at his freshman year, but played across the interior line that
Mm-hmm.
his freshman year as well. But that's just a little insight on Jackson Powers Johnson.
You got the versatility there too.
Yeah, I'm
I
go for it. I already said who I'm partial to.
You're partial to Newton. I would probably be partial to JPJ.
You want to go with that? Since you said you haven't like putzed with this at all, I'm gonna kind of let you take the lead because I putzed with this a lot. So
So this is mine.
it's not it's ours.
I know, I know,
I
I
am
know.
okay with JPJ here, but I'm letting you um not letting you. I'm saying if you want to go JPJ, we can go JPJ.
Let's okay. The biggest thing is, do we want a guy? How do I phrase this? Not to get belabored on the first pick, but it's the big one.
It's the
It's the
big
big
one.
one. Do we want to do the? Do we think that we can find someone of JPJ's caliber later, or do you think you can find someone a BPA at 41? That's 16 picks from now
Similar to Johnson,
to Newton.
to Newton. No, I think the value you're getting for Newton at this spot, I guess in my opinion, just how like it's how mock drafts have shaken out other ones that I've seen. Getting him here is pretty good. I don't think
Yeah,
he makes it to the second round. He probably gets picked like next, honestly. But like at 26.
yeah,
But there are interior linemen later that we can draft. There's a couple of centers to draft, particularly like Tanner Bartolani out of Wisconsin is a rising guy in the draft. He might go like second, third, but that's an option too if you're like trying to draft for positional need rather than best player available.
see the thing is I can get talked into taking Newton
Yeah, because like
because I see it. You
I
clearly see it.
yeah, we both see it. I think the issue with taking Newton is that line becomes real cramped real fast
Yeah,
between
you'd
Carl
have to
Brooks,
lose.
Colby Wooden, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, and the rest of them, and all
I'll
your
stick
edge
with
rushers.
JPJ.
You're going JPJ.
I'll stick with JPJ.
Alrighty, kapow, drafted. Jazeer Newton did go next. Peyton Wilson off the board. Zach Frazier, another center. Packers coming up. Tyler Nubin, the top safety in the draft, is pretty much what he is. Um, I guess consensus. There's not too many good safeties in this draft. Um, Peyton Wilson goes. Chop Robinson goes. Mostly Tyler Guyton, another guy. Tyler Guyton is another guy that's been
Yeah,
talked about a lot on Twitter as well. Keon Coleman goes 2 picks before, or I'm sorry, 3 picks before the Packers to the Titans. So available to the Packers: Tyler Nubin, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., but we don't need him obviously. Jordan Morgan, Roman Wilson, Javon Bolyard, Jonathan Brooks, Chris Jenkins, a couple of guys down here. The Kieran, I'm gonna butcher his last name. Amig Gotti out of Yale. Edrin Cooper, the linebacker down here as well. Kingsley Samatia out of BYU. So we went. Oh, I forgot to type his name. My apologies. We went Jackson Powers Johnson. Now I gotta make his name so much smaller, Jordan. Please give me a moment.
I'm
So,
very eager. It's
who
gonna look
are
like Shea Gilgis
who are
Alexander's
you?
jersey.
What where are you trying to go for this next pick?
Now this is where, based on how the board has fallen, we're looking at a lot of uh clearly offensive players, a lot of quarterbacks. Um, Jordan Morgan was the guy that I remember looking at that was intrigued by.
The tackle.
Yeah, this is. I mean, I've looked at more boring positions than
Yeah,
exciting
I
ones.
I know
But they make the world go round. That's the thing.
they do.
Um, we talked a lot about Tyler Newman on our defensive preview
Yep.
and how productive safety, yada yada yada. Testing that was not well,
No.
but we
He's.
also brought up the Brian Branch comparison
Yep.
from last year. Is this the spot? Is the spot where you go for a safety? Is this the safety that you go for? That's the other thing.
I've seen Javon Bulliard out of Georgia come up a lot for safety. Um, I guess for comparisons here, just to talk about, um, 6 receptions on 20 targets this year for Tyler Newman out of Minnesota. 2 touchdowns allowed 5 interceptions. He's 6'2", 210. I'm trying to pull up his score momentarily, but in the meantime, I'll um pull up Javon Bulliard's page here. Looks like everybody in the whole entire world is trying to get on RES right now, so it's taken a small minute, which does not surprise me. We're in that time of year. But
Yeah.
like we had talked about, Tyler Newman, notably not a good RES score, 3.72, ran a 4.59 40. Graded out poor in his explosion and agility grades. Again, we just talked about this 2 seconds ago. It's the Brian Branch idea that because he didn't test out very well, but still an impact player for Detroit last year. Um, for Javon Bulliard's season, 14 receptions on 26 targets, no touchdowns allowed, and 2 interceptions. Um, Played mostly deep and played a little bit in the slot, as opposed to Tyler Newman. Bring his page up. Played 84 snaps in the slot and played a whole lot in deep as well as some in the box. So, I guess for consistency's sake, I'll bring up Bulliard's score as well, his RS score. Are you trying to go safety, or where are you trying to go?
I mean, I think unless if we want to invest in you know,
8.25 for Javon Bulliard, by the way. Really fast, had good agility grades, had a
hmm,
poor explosion grade for his vertical. We didn't do the broad jump.
hmm.
So, I'm trying to see if I can see missed tackles here. 6 missed tackles for Newman last year, as opposed to Bulliard, who had, if I want to load again, 7. So, say what you will about that. Like I said, we don't
Interesting.
gotta go safety. We can go um, Jordan Morgan, another line. Brandon Fisk out of Florida State for interior defensive line. Chris Jenkins, who people seem to like.
Jonathan Brooks.
I think that's really early for Jonathan Brooks, as much as I really want to take him here. Or not here, but like take him in general as much as I want him.
Yeah.
I think taking a running back after you just signed Josh Jacobs to that deal is a bad look at pick 41. I'm partial to Bulliard, if that's okay with you.
I am also partial to Bulliard.
If I can find his
Let's do
name.
it. Let's do it.
All right.
Stick to
Javon
our
Bulliard,
guns.
You are.
Welcome to Green Bay.
You are a Green Bay Packer. Safety. Javon Millard. Lovely. Alrighty.
Ooh, I think I know where you'd lean.
You think you know where I lean?
Yeah, on this one.
Hold on, let's go back and look and see who got drafted
Yes,
in between.
sorry.
Um, Jordan Morgan, obviously. Jonathan Brooks did get drafted. So did Tyler Nubin at 55. Chris Jenkins went the pick before us. So,
Like Corum.
yep.
Um, I see Edgerrin Cooper right away.
Edrin Cooper is the one that pops off. He's one of the top linebackers in the draft. If I pull up the trusty beast from Dane Brugler, Edrin Cooper is number 2 on for linebackers. And
Second ranked linebacker. Who is his
yep,
first?
Junior Colson, and
Not
he
surprised.
he just went up I think earlier. Obviously, he went earlier. He'd be here, but
Yes.
I think he went before the Packers picked at 41. Trying to find to see if I can find them. Or am I just missing them? JJ McCarthy, Roman Wilson. Did he not get picked? Nope, he's still there
Hmm.
if you want him, but
Hmm.
I think that's just the difference between Dame Brugler and PFF is where people are drafting him. But Junior Colson is down here for a linebacker. Otherwise, Edger Cooper's here. The same tackle from Yale is still here if you wanted to get a tackle.
Yale.
So we have a safety and center. We shouldn't say still need, but according to PFF's needs, we probably still need a tackle at some point in the draft.
Tackle,
As
linebacker.
a linebacker, probably a running back.
Do I
But
see guard? Is that one of their needs that they would say? That looks like a G.
this is an S. It's
That's an
up up
S.
up here. It's offensive line, interior defensive lineman, and safety.
What do you of these names that are standing out to you?
Oh, that's a good
There's
question, Jordan. That's a really good question. I don't hate a Jalen Wright kind of player.
I see Max Melton too, I believe.
Was he down there? He is down here. I actually don't actually love a Max Melton.
58.
Yeah, because I don't think he gets to 30, or I don't think he
No, I
gets to
mean that's the
88.
thing. We're looking at 30 more picks.
Yeah, which
I
I
think
think is
a
going to be
lot of
a
these
big jump from your linebackers and your cornerbacks and things like that. I guess where I stand on it right now is that this player likely is going to be able to play or should be able to play right away next year. I rather I shouldn't say that. You should. Let me recount. Holy moly! Let me just pause for a second. Take a breath. A player in the second round should be a guy that you think can play pretty soon, right?
yeah,
It doesn't matter if you're drafting for need. I think this just should be like what you think your best player available is, because people aren't the highest on Edger Cooper. It's not a good linebacker class this year.
no,
I guess
that's the tough thing.
I can't consensusly is I guess the per the consensus or however you want to say it. Just not a good linebacker class this year. So taking Edger Cooper here is a bit of a swing, just because big shoulder shrug energy. Is he good? Is he not? Kind of thing. We talked about him um, as a player to look out for. We did our defensive draft targets and just talked about just kind of he's a little bit smaller, doesn't tackle well, um, doesn't have good, um, but he does have good rushing grades and coverage grades for a linebacker. So
Let's see.
yeah, so I call them reactor versus anticipator. Say what you will about that. I don't know. I part of me wants to go linebacker because they just need it so bad. But
You
at
could
the
make the same case. I mean, Melton. You can make the same case in secondary.
I don't know if that's like true though, because they got Xavier McKinney and they shored up their safety like really good.
We got Booyard.
And they got Bouillard. My only
I do think they.
problem is if you bring Carrington Valentine to be cornerback 2 into the year, You know what I mean? That's the problem that we're currently having is your CB your cornerback two is a seventh round draft pick from last year. I think I'm
It's
down
it.
with Edger Cooper or Max Melton, so I'm leaving it to you.
I'll go Melton.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Oh, I bring back Colson, but
That's all right.
okay. What's done is done.
We can't go back now. Mostly because
Edric Cooper just got
mostly
picked off.
because we're recording and I'm not restarting this. There goes Colson.
Julie, yeah, there we go. All right, we're back on the clock.
Yep. Um, three tailbacks here,
Yep.
which I'm not partial to, considering we still need a linebacker at some point. But we have 88 and 91, so we get a couple chances
Yeah,
here.
we kind of double dip here.
Yep. So Trey Benson, Bucky Irving, and Ray Davis are all options here at running back. Um, Malik Washington as a wide receiver, Javon Solman out of Troy as an edge rusher. We don't need a tight end, so I'm not going to take Eric Gall. Connor Beebe as a guard. Mason McCormick, who I talked about as a guard from South Dakota State. Cedric
Jeremiah
Van Pran is
Trotter.
here. Yeah, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. as a linebacker. Um, Coverage grade pretty good. A lot of missed tackles, 15 missed tackles last year. Jeez Louise.
Dabo Sweeney, what are you doing,
What are
buddy?
you doing, buddy? Dominic Pooney, I've seen drafted a few times. Same thing with Christian Mahogany, mostly because he has a good last name. Strong name alert. Um,
Would you be serious? Would you?
no. So, understand.
This is a tough.
I
This
keep
is.
forgetting to put the players. Ah,
Oh yeah, yeah.
CB Max Melton.
There you go. This is the tough thing. Is there any? We're obviously looking at the top talent on the board right now is a lot of offensive players.
Mm-hmm.
You start looking towards the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, we talked about there is AJ Dillon is the number two going into this year, but that's you know
Right.
not set in stone beyond
Right.
as much as he is the mayor of Door County.
That's right.
Um,
So part of me wants to take a running back here.
mm,
How I've done it here in my mock drafts, mind you.
Take a
This is
skill player here, and then N91. I'm answering this for you. 91, you kind of go more. Hey, maybe dip with a lineman.
you could probably guess who I take.
Is Cooper Beebe?
No, he's right here.
Mason McCormick.
I take a running back here, and then I dip into McCormick there. Is how my mock drafts have gone. Whenever like I get to this point. So
Interesting.
I think it's worth talking about these three running backs. Trey Benson out of Florida State had 900 yards last year and 14 touchdowns, 20 catches on 24 targets for 227 yards. Um, Pretty good, like good stats wise. I think the biggest thing to look at here is this number right here, Jordan. Is these attempts.
Mm.
Biggest thing for like college backs coming out of college is how much they're getting used. 156, 154 for a redshirt junior. So,
Not a
um,
lot.
no, it's not a lot at all, especially when you look at Bucky Irving. 186 last year uh, for almost 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns, had 55 catches out of the backfield and 400 yards. Um, Only had 157 carries last year, but still grades out really well. But then what the reason I say that is like there's been a lot of chatter around Ray Davis. Ray Davis
Yes.
the last 2 years has had 197 and 233 carries for Kentucky, and a lot of yards to go with it. 14 touchdowns this past year. Like I think he's going to be good, but I think the risk assessment with that is just that like that's just a lot more carries under your
That's
belt
a
than
lead back.
that's a lead back for sure.
Workload at least.
Right, exactly. So like I'm partial to Bucky Irving here, mostly just because I think his threat out of the backfield is obviously like more solidified. He had 55 catches this year, which is pretty darn good. along with
I like a dual
1,200
threat
yards.
back.
Yeah, it's just like I think that's a not a bad idea. His zone grade is the best for running into the zones versus gaps, but he's got really good elusive rating, really good rushing grade, really good yards after contact. Like I think this is just a I don't want to say like a knockout pick, but I like him for what it's worth. PFF's analysis. His cons are he's a north and south runner, um, but there are times when the outside is open but doesn't take it. Not a reliable pass blocker. No rookie running back is. Doesn't have getaway speed, but if he's elusive, that's fine with me.
Yeah. 4 words. Nucky if you bucky.
Wow.
Take him.
Taking him. Bucky Irving, you are a Green Bay
Hey.
Packer. Hilariously, the next two picks were Ray Davis and Trey Benson.
There we go.
So, running back, Bucky Irving. So, I influenced that pick. Where do you want to go now? Keep in mind that
I
we still need tackle. There's not really
yes.
one around here besides Dominic Pony down here from Kansas, who, for context, allowed 0 sacks this past year. He's a redshirt senior, has 2 years of starting, but played 848 snaps at left guard, 728 snaps at left tackle his past 2 years playing. But like I said, I kind of took over that last pick. What is your feeling for this pick?
Um well obviously part of it too is that without a trade down or trade up scenario, I guess we're at
We
the
have two
pick number
trades
two.
available.
Oh,
Teams interested in pick 91. The Jaguars at 96 or the Falcons at 109.
interesting.
You want to play along with this?
Let's do it. Let's. The Jaguars have dipped into our kitty. They signed Darnell Savage. Who's the other guy that they signed? They signed DeGuara.
Yep, they did.
Let's keep doing business though. Let's go Jaguars. We won 96. What
So
are we giving up?
we want 96
Yep.
for 91. Um, we can add more to it. You want to add 114, 116, 153, 212, or 236, or a pick next year?
Let's get a pick next year. Let's bleed them dry.
Okay, what pick?
I don't care.
It says down here this trade is lopsided. Your team owner will veto it. So like if we pick like round
We
three
don't
next
have an
year,
owner. We are the owner.
I understand that. If we pick their third round pick next year, this trade will not be accepted. Doesn't work. But if you click like
Oh,
round
this is like
four,
the Madden. Yeah.
56% chance. Round five, likely to be accepted.
Let's just do the trade down just for this year.
Do what?
We'll just trade down. We'll offer it, and we'll see if they take it.
But not one for one.
Yeah, let's do one for one. Let's trade back.
Why?
I don't know.
You got to get something for it.
No, I just want to trade back and see if you get better value. They've done that before.
Not one for one.
Yeah, they did. Oh yeah, they have.
I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know. Just move back for nothing. They probably got like a seventh out of it.
I don't know.
I'm
No,
willing
let's
to
get a fifth rounder. Let's get a fifth rounder.
for next year, or do you want a fifth rounder this year?
Next year. Next year.
You don't want this year for the
No.
sake of the
We
fact that I already have the fucking numbers on the side of the goddamn screen.
we don't need it. That'd be 12 picks. And you'd have to adjust. Yeah, I was gonna say you'd have to
Yeah.
adjust your little thing.
All right. Round five next year. Offer trade. Accepted. Resume draft.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stupid Jaguars.
All right.
There we
Just
go.
just for funsies, we traded back. Now my little things. All right. What?
You just have to do the 96.
Yeah.
All right, who are we looking at right now? I
Uh,
see McCormick, I see Trotter.
yep.
Um
Jeremiah Trotter's page for those interested. Otherwise, we got tight end Dominic Pooney down here, Christian Mahogany, again, who's been talked about a little bit.
Michael Hall,
Yeah. Another safety if you want to
Cameron
take a couple
Kitchens.
swings. That's kind of where I'm at.
Who would you lean? Would you lean
I mean, I'd lead
McCormick?
McCormick.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right.
We bled the Jaguars dry. We
McCormick
took our
or
McCormick.
Pooney? I think we'll go
Hmm.
McCormick. Well, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to decide if we want to tackle or an interior defense or an interior lineman. You know what? I'm actually gonna, as much as I liked McCormick,
Uni.
yeah, I think I'm gonna go Puny for for the position. No
Yeah.
tackles allowed. Pretty good grades. I think we just need a tackle there because they do need a tackle depth.
Yeah.
So
Let's do it.
Puny.
Dominic Puny, you
Yep.
are a Green Bay Packer. We
So
saved you from the
22
Jacksonville
picks until we
Jaguars.
pick next. This is a great time for y'all to go to gspn.info and subscribe to all of the Eurostep Podcast Network pods. Get in the Discord. Come hang out. We got some great things cooking. You're gonna want to be in there, so be sure to go check it out. That's a promo. Big promo cutter. All right. So Braylon Allen goes right before us. I wonder if I
He's
want to
only 20.
see. I wonder. I was gonna say if Bartolomeo is still here somewhere. Oh, he ended up really going at 121. That's incredible.
Baloney.
Um. So contextually, we have once again forgot to put the guy's name here.
No, we didn't take him. We took Puny.
Oh, thank you. Pretty sure I spelled his name wrong. Please hold while I try to make sure I spelled the guy's name I drafted properly. Nope, I spelled it right. I'm goaded. All right. Oop, we are moving all over the place. So we have drafted a center, a tackle, a safety, a cornerback, and a running back.
What are our needs
Our
per
needs
PFF?
that we per PFF is ones we haven't drafted yet is defensive line. We've drafted a safety. We've drafted a lineman. So D line is the only one that we haven't really addressed at this point. So looking at that in this area, we're at pick. My apologies if I go back down. We're at pick 126. Um, this D lineman out of LSU, Makai Wingo, is usually about 140. 5 sacks last year, 11 over the last 3 years. Excuse me. Only played 8 games last year. Let me see if he's coming off of an injury. It doesn't say. But overall, pretty good grades against the pass rush and the run defense. Let me pull up so I can pull up the beast and get a couple of words on him if you
What's the analysis of this pick as well
I
per
can
PFF?
click on that. Wingo's shorter arms and legs limit his efficacy and versatility. He will be likely limited uh, to be a 2 interior lineman or 4 interior lineman alignments in a 4-3 scheme, but his quickness and consistent hand placement can lead to some success as a rotational pass rusher in the NFL. His pros, according to PFF, is quick off the snap, a violent push-pull move, hand speed and placement are effective, helps make up for his shorter T-Rex arms. Low and loaded stance before the snap allows him to fire off the ball with power and leverage. His cons are shorter strides make for quick step but less ground covered. Gets moved out of gaps and turned around easily and stiff to change direction. So say what you will about that. He's a
Hmm.
junior, 6'1", 295, 21 years old.
Big boy.
Big boy. I wouldn't mind taking him here just based on that.
Yeah.
I think that's I don't want to say good value because we're taking him ahead of what he's been drafted average. I got drafted on average with PFF stuff, but um, drafting for need, I think this is a good spot for it. Honestly,
Let's do it. Let's do it. Makai Wingo, you are a Green Bay Packer.
40 picks now. Hope you guys are having a wonderful time. I'm actually having a lot of fun.
I am. Now this is where we're getting close to like
Who the
wing it
hell are you
mode.
territory?
Yeah. It's like, hey, I like your name. We're gonna take you.
That's right. Um, Perfect. All right. So, players available. Holy Cross wide receiver Jalen Coker had 59 catches for 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns last year. Jeez Louise, it's pretty good for all intents and purposes. Zach Zinter, I think he's the guard that got hurt in the college
Yes.
football playoff game. If I'm
Yep.
not mistaken. Um, doesn't really work so well having taken Jackson Powers Johnson and Dominic Puny, but I wouldn't be opposed to taking a guard there as well. Otherwise, another
See that
receiver,
Oregon
Anthony Gould.
State safety that has gotten some buzz on Packers.
Keaton Oladapo.
I think they actually even brought him in for a visit too.
Okay.
Not that that means everything, but
Mm-hmm.
just throwing that out there.
Mm-hmm. This
But
is
of course,
this is uninformed, but based on his snap alignment that PFF has here, looks like a mini Cooper DeJean. He plays all over the place. 278 snaps in the slot last year, 292, 174. I'm sorry, 292 in the box and 174 deep. Like just kind of a guy that plays all over besides outside corner kind of thing. So, um, has a lot of missed tackles, 17. I'm sorry, 11 missed tackles, but good coverage grades when he's out there. Forced
mm-hmm.
incompletion rate of 19 or almost 20%. Jesus. 21 receptions on 36 targets, one touchdown allowed, and two interceptions with seven forced incompletions. I like this player. Again, getting
Are we
into the.
double dipping?
I don't think it's a bad idea.
I don't think so either. I
Like
mean,
they kind of like need someone to hit there, and what do you do with like if they just want to out Xavier McKinney, that's fine, but they don't really have a lot of options back there right now, and I think this gives them options to see who can really fill out a role.
let's take him.
All right, I'm actually gonna write down his name first before I click the
Lieutenant
button.
Oladapo.
Safety, Keaton Oladapo. I do think that we should be getting a
Linebacker.
yeah
Or yeah.
wide receiver at some point too.
I agree.
So obviously that's drafting for need, not best player available. But considering we aren't draft experts, pick 202 is gonna be a guy that we read a
I mean
couple.
all these, but this
Yeah,
is the Carrington Valentine.
yeah.
Who's the other late one?
I forget who it was. There's a Michigan linebacker here, Jordan. Michael Barrett
Hmm.
has good pass rush grades, has good coverage grades, has good run defense grades. Doesn't have anything for like trends or analysis. Have you also haven't seen this. This is very funny. So they do a review and they go, "No, now here's a guy," because they don't have anything for him. I'll see if I
Yeah,
can
we've
pull
got
up
okay.
the
We're
beast
we're at
quick.
that point. I'm guessing.
We are at that point. You are correct. Um, 20 is Michael Barrett Jr. So I have Dame Brugler's beast up. Always shout out Dame Brugler. Go subscribe to the Athletic if you want to go check it out. Um, Third team All Big Ten in 22 and 23. Holy moly, he's old. He's 24. Not the most.
There's nothing wrong with being old.
There's, well, speak for yourself, oldie. But the Packers generally don't like drafting old. I think they've drafted
No.
only guys like under 21 throughout the draft.
Well, actually, Devontae White would be the exception.
That's what I'm saying. I was
Yeah.
getting there. I was getting there.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Dame Brugler is the beast for Michael Barrett Jr. His strength is he's a rangy athlete with good speed and to alter his gears in pursuit. Plays with short bursts to scrape over the top of blockers and get free. Um, he's played them. Holy moly, he's available. Best ability is availability. No player in Michigan history has played more career games, 64. That's also been
Well, the
part of that is
guy's
20,
been alive
24.
since 1945.
He's he played in two he played in two games uh in 2018, 13 in 2019, 6 in 2020, 14, 14, 15 the last 3 years.
So he's a
Um,
COVID guy.
yeah, he's a COVID guy. Um, can shoot through the A gap quite well, according to Dane Brugler. Faces up ball carriers, keeps his eyes before his feet, and accelerates through his targets as a tackler. He's got an in-betweener body type for his weaknesses. Washed out in the run game once he's engaged in blocks. Flat-footed, and would be a 25-year-old rookie. So basically, Brandon Whedon as a quarterback, as a linebacker. Overall, Barrett doesn't have the size teams desire in base and lacks playmaking reaction and time. Lacks playmaking reaction time, but he plays fast and physically with a forceful demeanor. He is a bargain bin version of Chiefs Nick Bolton and has talent to earn a role on special teams.
Hmm.
So
I mean, at this point, we are in flyer territory. We have 4 picks that span 53 spots,
yeah,
and we are working at the not the bottom of the barrel, but these are guys that are some of their biggest accomplishments in the NFL might just be the fact that they are drafted.
yeah,
You know,
yep.
um, why not? Let's
I
go, Michael
yeah,
Barrett.
I honestly don't like. I don't really know too much about him, kind of thing, having just read about him, but I don't mind a player who just won a title, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like, if you've got championship experience, I think that's more useful than sometimes it's
he
let
has
on to be.
age. With age comes wisdom,
Yeah, he's got
and
a
with
lot of it.
wisdom,
Um, all right, Michael Barrett, you are a Green Bay Packer. Wrapping up here pretty quickly. Pick it up a little bit for the speed.
we're doing Joe Milton.
We're not doing Joe Milton, unless you want to.
No,
Yeah, probably not. Um, we're gonna take a look at Casey Washington here from Illinois. Not too bad. Passing yards, 670, 50 catches last year, 4 touchdowns. Here's a
Brett
guy.
Bielema's Illinois Fighting Illini. Just a terrible name.
It's not good. You know, draft a kicker, place kicker.
How dare you?
What? What?
Anders Carlson, by the way, was last year's 207th overall pick. Packers had 5 guys that they took in the 200s.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get a bunch of these comp picks.
Just crazy,
Yeah.
crazy. Anyway,
Ooh, we could take Frank Gore Jr.
Frank Gore Jr. We already did take a running back, but
We
who
did.
cares? Um, who's that top guy? Who's that top guy? Michigan guy.
Tight end AJ Barner. Tight end, so I think he's off the table, frankly.
Sounds like a barn burner to me.
Jawan Briggs, strong name alert.
Ooh,
Interior defensive lineman. 2 sacks last year, 12 hurries. Um, okay grades, nothing that really pops off. If he did pop off, he'd be drafted higher, kind of thing. Christian Boyd, D lineman out of Northern Iowa. Now here's a guy with some grades. See if I can find
take
him
him.
on the take him. Do you want to hear about him from the Beast?
This is why I could never be an owner. One, the Packers don't have an owner. We are the owner.
That's right.
Two, I would just be like, yeah, that's great grades. Let's go.
For what it's worth, Christian Boyd, for those listening, not watching on YouTube, Christian Boyd, 89.4 pass rush grade, 83.9 run defense grade. Um, has 3 sacks last year on 9 hits and 28 hurries. So just a matter of getting home more often would be good for him. Um, doesn't have any of that stuff. So Christian Boyd, you are the next Green Bay Packer. If I can spell his name, Christian Boyd. Spells Christian like Chris Middleton is like fancy.
Let's hear it for the boy.
All right,
Let's
folks.
give the boy a chance.
Well then, hope you guys enjoyed that sweet serenade from Jordan.
You're
That
welcome.
caught me off guard.
Where are we? Where are we at? Two
245, and look who's
two
at the top of
45.
the board.
I'm late for my dentist appointment.
Will Reichard, kicker out of Alabama.
This is just hurtful.
Listen, maybe if
They
Anders knew,
signed a kicker.
Yeah,
We got Greg Joe.
Greg Joe, that's his name.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, uh, Brugler gave Reichard a fifth round grade
Wow.
for kickers.
Really?
Really, really. He didn't give me any stats on him, but he's available. Do you want to draft another
Uh,
kicker?
Circling back to Christian Boyd, he ranked 19th in Dane Brugger's Beast.
Wow.
Sixth round grade.
Wow. Wham.
Um,
Or do you want to take a swing on another linebacker? Nope. Don't like Jalen Ford here. Grades aren't the best.
nope. Yeah,
A
let's
lot
not
of
do
missed
Ford.
tackles. What?
Let's not do Ford.
No, I'm more of a Chevy guy. Um, Frank Crum. It's an unfortunate last name for a guy who played that
Nope.
sport.
We are taking him. Are you kidding me? That's a guy's name?
Frank Crum.
Frank Crumb? That sounds like a bumbling private detective. And he is a tackle that's going to be drafted in the NFL.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Like that sounds like a character that John Candy would have played
Probably.
in the 80s.
Listen,
I
all
guess
you're doing
he
is
also was
stalling.
in a movie called Who's Harry Crumb.
Correct. But
So
all you're doing is stalling, not taking Will
I
Reichard.
just told you
You want Crumb?
I want Crumb. Let's not Hansel and Gretel this shit. Let's go full Frank.
God.
It's late.
He's still
Sorry.
there, Jordan.
He's,
He's still there waiting for you to be picked. Waiting to be picked. Hold on. We
yeah, you
need
got
to
it right.
I
You
need
got it
to
right.
I need to
Frank
see
Crumb.
what his
His
stats were.
ranking.
No, his stats were last year.
Frank Crumb.
Will Reichard, Alabama Crimson Tide place kicker. Stats.
Frank Crumb was the 19th ranked tackle for Dane Brugler's sixth round draft grade as
Had a
well.
long of 52 yards in 2022 and 2023. Went 5 of 5 from 50 plus last year. 7 of 10 from 40 to 49 was perfect from 40 in. Uh Made every single one of his extra points.
Which is proven to be a lot harder than we uh, assumed it would.
Correct.
It would be funny going from an Auburn kicker to an Alabama
Alabama
kicker.
kicker. And you know
Yeah,
what? And you know what? We're
we
doing it
are.
for the
Let's do
jokes.
it. Let's hear it for the
Anders,
jokes.
that's it. That's it for you. We got 3 new awards, Jordan, for PFF. I'm not really sure what that's all about. There is the draft. If I can make it smaller. Oh, I didn't put our last 2 guys on there. Ah,
Frank Crumb.
I know. I see him. Frank Crum, not a real freaking name. And then kicker Will Reichard.
Mhm.
So, Jordan, what did you think of your draft? What do you think of the grades? We didn't get any. We got 1A, which is like,
Got 1A, really?
say what you will. It's just grades and whatnot, but
Is that
only
just Boyd?
that's just Boyd.
Well, the Packers are used to not being,
Highly graded,
highly
right?
graded. They play the long game. That's what we're doing right here.
That's right.
I thought we get a little goody on you.
We got an overall draft grade of B, which isn't too terrible.
That's not bad.
Um, Jackson Powers Johnson C minus, Javon Bulliard B minus, Max Melton a C, Bucky Irving and Dominic Pooney were B's, Makai Wingo and Keaton Oladapo were B pluses, Michael Barrett's A minus from Christian Boyd, B plus and B from Frank Crum and Will Reichard. I think the C minus for Max Melton um, and Javon. I'm sorry, for Jackson Powers Johnson, Max Melton. I think he's just like reaching a little bit, like positional need. They tell you up here that we drafted JPJ, that Jazan Newton
Yeah,
would have been a better need. But that's more
yeah.
drafting for need
As
versus, again, that's best player available. It's how you wanted to go about the draft. So there you go. You got a B, Jordan. Congrats.
I'm a coward. Is that what you're telling me?
No,
Oh.
there's no wrong way to go about it. I think JPJ's a good pick. I don't think I would have picked him there, frankly. Like if that board was coming to me, I probably would have picked Newton and seen what the how the rest of it played out because you could have gotten Bartoloni later, in my opinion. But or Zach Frazier, I believe is his name, out of West Virginia. So
Yes.
um, always options, but we never know how it's gonna shake out. So good job.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we really hit it, and we set ourselves up for the future,
Yeah, well
but
certainly.
also for the present.
Hopefully for the present with Riker kicking kicks now.
Exactly. Maybe we'll get to a conference championship.
Maybe. All right, folks. That does it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be live on YouTube next week Thursday for the first round of the draft. So be sure to check us out there. We'll post it in the Discord for an event this coming week, probably Monday or so. So be sure to check us out there. gspn.info is where you can find a link to the Discord. Um, Check out all the other podcasts on GSPN as the Bucks start their playoff adventure, I'll call it, on Sunday against the Pacers. Ty and Rohan on Eurostep and Jordan Adam 1 and 6. We'll be going through that every post game, sometimes live, sometimes not, but there'll be post game pods for every single game throughout the playoffs, however long those may last, with all of us on GSPN if need be, as needed kind of thing. So be sure to check out there and go subscribe to those pods. Brewers are doing well. Just only took one game from the Padres this last series, but start a 3-gamer with the Cardinals in St. Louis today as you're listening to this. So that'll be a big division. I think the first division series of the year. Adam and Andrew
Oh
got it
yeah.
all figured out on cruising for a bruising. So go check that out because the Brewers, I think it's first place Milwaukee Brewers, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't check the standings lately, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. Um, and then make time for this with Adam and Andrew as well. Release a new episode today, actually, with Dennis Villanueva's Dazzles with Dune Part 2 and a film, plus the film's incredible array of stars. I probably announced that director's name wrong. My apologies.
Villeneuve.
Villeneuve, thank you. So that does it for us, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.